Hey everybody. Okay, so this is part two of my notes and what I learned from yesterday's workshop. So yesterday's workshop was the professional resume writing with Laisha McDaniel from LLF Consulting. Um, Really good workshop. I learned a lot personally as a seasoned professional. The workshop was geared towards beginners who needed to build out their resumes to find employment. So in part one, we talked about what employers look for. We talked about what happens if you got fired from a place, and we talked about how to change what you list in your resume from the task that you do to accomplishments. So right now what we're going to get into is we're going to talk about some of the stuff that a lot of people bring up when it comes to the fear of like turning in your resumes and what we think is happening once you hand over a resume. I did a previous video where we talked about LinkedIn and how candidates are getting pushed out of the lineup for a job because of filtering and stuff like that. And the same thing can happen with your resume. You can get immediately kicked out before human eyes even look at your resume by a system that is called ATS, which stands for Applicant Tracking System, which I'm going to double check I'm correct. It is called an applicant tracking system. So companies use the applicant tracking system to filter out the people that don't fit for the role. What I found out through Laisha yesterday is 75%, let me update my notes, 75%, let me say it again. I feel like I just like brushed over it. 75%. 3 out of 4 people are automatically getting kicked out by this applicant tracking system. So she talked about why people are getting out. The number one reasons. One is format. So sorry, Canva. I love Canva. I had a fancy, smancy resume. I had resumes with my photo on it. I had a resume with graphics on it. And I realized something always happened before I get into this. Something always happened when I would upload my Canva resume to these systems. I realized something was always happening. And what would happen is it would mix up all the information. Like if you ever submitted an application to some of these jobs, some of them use a tool where it extracts the information from your resume and puts it in like a format for that job application. And if you check, you always got to fix it. You're like, nope, this is not this. This is actually that. Like, no, this is not an employer. This is a website. Like you always have to like go back and fix it. And that is because your that format that you're using on Canva is not helping you at all. There is a science to this, a framework to all of this that is supposed to be helpful in terms of getting employment. That framework of like having your headings, having the place of employment before the title and all this stuff, all of that stuff is important. It's structured like that for a reason. And one of those reasons is you'll get kicked out of the ATS system if you have it too wonky. So I'm using Canva again for my updated resume, but I am going very simple. Very, 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 very simple. So if you have one of those fancy resumes, I'm gonna need you to undo all of that. Use Word. If you don't use Canva, use Word. I just personally like Canva over anything else. But I'm even thinking for myself, I could just copy it and move it over to Word and just kind of test it out to see how it is. I'm not actively seeking full-time work. If anything, I need to be working on be working on a pitch deck more than I need to be working on a resume, which I already have a pitch deck, but That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Okay, back to this though. 75% of people are getting kicked out, one, because of their format. So leave the fancy alone. Go for simple. Use Microsoft Word. Use Google Doc. It's okay if it's simple. The recruiters do not care. But what you should do, which I got from the crypto recruiters, is bold the important stuff so recruiters can easily see what is the stuff that you've been doing. Like, for example, I have helped organizations get funding one way or another. That is stuff that needs to be bolding on the resume. I'm like, I help people make money. Anyway, the second thing is you don't have optimized keywords. Keywords is key. I think there should be a workshop alone on, which I'm going to take notes on, workshop on understanding keywords. I think that is needed. I think when you tell people that they need to understand the keywords, they're not going to be like, I think most people wouldn't be sure. Like, you wouldn't be sure what, like, you see a job posting and you're like, what should I be grabbing? Bachelor's degree? Like, I know, and most people should know, like, the skills, the task, those type of things would be keywords. But like, I think there should be a workshop. Either somebody else do it or I can do it. Doesn't matter. Or I could do a video. Anywho, there needs to be a workshop on, let's look at a job. Let's look at the description of that job. Let's pull out the keywords. I think that in itself will be extremely, extremely helpful. So if you know how to do that, I suggest you do that. If you are teaching others, because I have people who follow me that also teach digital literacy classes, I think that keyword piece should be a session of its own, because I think that's really, really, really important. But that's also getting you kicked out of ATS. And then photos get you rejected. I used to have my photo on my resume, and that apparently was getting me rejected. So do not have photos. So yeah, those. So I think I'm gonna leave it here at the 7-minute mark.